All right, welcome back to the garage. Believe it or not, this is probably the third time I've shot this. I first had an audio problem, and then I got about 10 minutes in and realized I hadn't hit the start button. So I'll try not to rush this, but if it feels a little rushed, it's because I've done it 3 times now. So sorry about that. As you can see with my machine, I have the Z-axis set up to kind of what I had, well, the stock setup, basically, I should say. So this is how your ultimate Bee CNC would come, and you would set it up. And I had a few questions after my last video just around what the heck was I doing? Why was I trying to make a new Z-axis? What was I trying to solve for? So I just wanted to quickly kind of go over that and give you kind of the I think it's about 3 reasons, maybe 4 reasons that I have decided to try and come up with a different Z-axis design. So the first one starts way back when I first got the CNC. I was really excited. I started looking at dust boots and all the different options, and I came across Pone CNC, and this is their V9 dust boot. So I went to CAD and I developed a whole armature system to hold the V9 because it's a Z independent dust boot that of course doesn't play that nicely with the Ultimate Bee. But I designed an armature, it bracketed onto here and allowed the dust boot to sit nicely below. Well, I spent quite a while building that arm and getting it all tested, only then to do my first project and basically had the C-beam, because the C-beam comes down, the slot is only big enough for the spindle, so the C-beam came down and hit. Luckily I was watching it. It's always a good lesson, always watch your machine. Hit the E-stop, put a little crack in the glass. Well, it's not glass, it's plexiglass, and broke a 3D printed part. Not a big deal, but lesson learned. So quickly realized that dust boot wasn't going to work with the design of this Z-axis. So then I was doing a 3D carve, and I had some tall stock. So I was carving here, and it was kind of doing, this is just a sample piece, but it was kind of going back and forth. And what was happening was as it was coming over this side, the C-beam was catching and dragging on this side of it as it was coming down on the 3D carve because it was deep. And at the time I had set you can see right now I have my spindle pretty low in the mount and below the C-beam. And that's to actually give me allowance for the rapid change ATC. If I didn't have that, it would actually hit either stock when changing bits or it would bottom out. It doesn't work very well. So I had to drop it down in the mount so that it protruded down past the C-beam. And so that worked okay. And it would solve the problem with the 3D carve. I still couldn't use the V9 dust boot. There's not enough clearance, but I could get around 2 of those problems. Well, then I got the rotary. And as you can see, with how I have the Z-axis set up, I really don't have I don't have a lot of clearance to put any larger stock in the rotary tool. So the rotary jaws will accept bigger stock, but I'm limited because the height, my clearance height now, because I've dropped my spindle down, I've lost a bunch of the clearance height. So those are some of the challenges that I ran into with this Z-axis and just what I want to set up and what I want to have on my machine. So that's basically where I got to and why I started developing a modification, I guess, for the Z-axis so that the C-beam would be stationary and the spindle would move up and down. And so the way I came about that, so I kind of decided on two options. I've gone through a bunch of iterations. I've got different plates for different things, and I've tried different setups, but ultimately this setup I think worked the best. So this plate mounts to the back of the C-beam, and I'll do a full video on how I switch it all around. So you unmount your spindle, you mount this to the back of the C-beam like that, and then you flip the C-beam around and you mount this plate to your X gantry plate. So this comes off, you mount it to here, and now you have your C-beam turned around and you have this plate to mount your spindle. So then I made this adapter plate that screws onto here, and it has a bolting pattern for a couple of the standard mounts. You could obviously put this in CAD and or add some more holes manually, but ultimately this plate or some version of it gets mounted to this plate that's now facing out. And now what happens is your C-beam is stationary, and the trucks on the axis here move up and down on this plate. So this version really requires you to mill out, again, if you're going to do this permanently, I would recommend, this is 12 millimeter plywood, I would recommend doing 10 or 12 millimeter aluminum for the final version, but you can certainly test with plywood. I've done a few cuts and it works well. So this is kind of what I came up with. Now, right now, the thing to keep in mind is if you look at the machine right now, from the spoil board to, even if I said to the bottom of the C-beam as it sits today, we have 175 millimeters of clearance. But if I can't really get, sorry, let me get the rotary out of the way. If I look at, basically where my nut is, that nut is actually at call it 120. Yeah, about 120. So I already have that limitation anyways. So I'm not losing really any usable Z height by bringing the C-beam down, because again, I can't smash stock and things like that or the rotary into the spindle nut. So I need to have that much clearance regardless. So that allows me to, when it's mounted like this, the spindle can come all the way up here and the bit and everything is all the way up here, and I have all of that clearance space, versus right now I have 120, let's call it 125 to the top of the bit, and with the bit I've got less than 90 millimeters of clearance. So for things like the rotary or taller stock, this bit hanging down becomes the limiting factor. So by having my Z be able to go up here with the spindle rather than here at rest, it makes more clearance and safer clearance. So with all that being said, I will do a video on setting up the plates. I have one small change. I'm getting a slightly different spindle mount. I don't love this one from Saint Smart. So I have a different spindle mount I'm just waiting on, and then I'll do one more face plate here with the new mounting pattern, and then I'll do a video of it all going together. But I also looked at it and said, okay, this, basically I mill 2 plates and buy some screws, and anyone with an Ultimate Bee can make that change. But if you wanted, what are the other options? So I started looking at other Z-axis options, and I remembered that I came across the Print NC community and really liked their project, but I didn't really want to do all the steel work and source that myself, which is why I went with the Ultimate Bee. But they're on version 4 of their platform, and this is their Z-axis. So it uses beefier, what are these? HGN20? I'll double check, but the beefier rails, beefier cars, trucks, whatever they are, carriages, and a similar ball screw, has a fair bit of clearance to it. And this is all this is painted. It's just plywood painted to run a test with. So I'm waiting on 2 other parts before I get it mounted up, but I'm going to give this a shot as well. And so the nice thing there is this has an established project. It has a good community. So basically what I would be doing is creating an adapter plate that goes on, again, the x-axis, and then you would mount, so you'd mount the plate to the x-axis, and then you'd mount the new z-axis to that plate. So I'm going to give that a try as well and see how that works. But that's a project for another day. And that is my update for right now. So that's a bit of the why. Hopefully that wasn't too rambly, and hopefully it made some sense. But yeah, the various stages at which I've ran into issues and things, colliding or coming in contact with the C beam. I know that there's lots of people that run their machine just fine, and with this setup. And I'm not saying there's anything bad with it, but I have, like I said, I have come up with some issues here and there, and this was my way to solve it. So again, if you're happy with your machine, no need to modify it. But yeah, that is where I'm at with my project. Thanks for following along, and hopefully that adds some clarity. Bye for now, guys.